I'm Max, CEO and co-founder of Legora, and we've gone from 0 to $1.8 billion valuation in less than 2 years.
This is Max, a 25-year-old first-time founder from Sweden who built Legora, a $1.8 billion company in under 2 years. He closed nearly every law firm he pitched. But then, after raising $35 million, he did something insane.
In our first board meeting, I sit down, Benchmark and Redpoint, and I tell them that we're not going to sell for the next 6 months.
Today, you'll learn how to get to $1 million in revenue without hiring any salespeople, how being product-obsessed leads to easy sales, how to build an AI product so good, it literally sells itself. I'm Pablo, founder turned VC, and this is the Product Market Fit Show. Max, so where does the story actually begin? Like, you apply to YC, what happens next?
So this is going to sound like the beginning of a great joke. It was a lawyer, a physicist, a psychologist, and an engineer. You know, I was not part of that crew. They basically sort of oriented themselves around this idea that the lawyer had so many boring tasks when he was doing an internship in a courthouse, took the early BERT models and threw at the problem and tried to solve and, build cool stuff on top of it. They kind of failed. It was really hard, especially in non-English languages. So in Swedish, the models were just extremely unsophisticated. Then, in the post-ChatGPT era, when the APIs became available on GPT 3.5, we revisited the problem. And they built a really cool demo, basically, and they showed it to me. It was around how can you make sense of your stock option agreements as an employee? Because it's a lot of legalese and it's hard to understand. And the lawyer and the physicist decided that this is not for us. And then I joined. And the reason why I joined was because August and Sigge wanted somebody who had gone to business school, because you needed somebody who had been to business school to go to the business accelerator. I just said, well, put my name on it if you want to, and then make an application. That sounds fine.
But then on top of applying to that local business accelerator, you also applied to YC. What happened?
May 2023, we make the YC application, we get to interview, we do the interview, we get completely roasted, we get rejected, and then the day after we decide, okay, let's take the business accelerator and let's work really hard and let's reapply in the autumn.
So what changed between the time you got rejected from YC and then when you finally got in the second time?
We basically sort of strapped in and said, hey, well, the only way we're going to really learn how to do this is if, one, we start to work with some really great lawyers, because we're all good engineers, but we sort of don't know our domain. And two, that same month, both a company called Case Text got acquired for 650 million by Thomson Reuters, which is one of the sort of 800-pound gorillas in our industry. We went, okay, that's interesting. There's other people who think this is a good bet too, but they don't seem to be in Europe. So let's just go. Worked extremely hard that summer, super committed. After a month, we signed the biggest law firm in the Nordics as a design partner and as a client. They were actually kind enough to let us work from their offices. Following that, we then got accepted into Y Combinator in August of 2023.
What was your original idea?
The idea was that LLMs and legal work is going to make sense. So let's run in that general direction. We'll build a product that compounds the more people use it and the better it gets.
So you're 3 Swedish engineers with no legal background and you're trying to work with one of the biggest law firms in the Nordics. What happens next?
Well, the first thing was that their head of security came with, a paper stack about this thick and sort of slammed it on our desk and said, hey, we're not going to work with you until you fill these out. We actually ended up spending about half the initial angel funding just on security stuff.
How much did you raise?
Oh, we raised 50,000 euros. That's what we got started on. Ramen profitability was
And then when you're working with that law firm, how did you actually structure and set up that pilot?
We made it very clear that we weren't there just for the office space. We really wanted to work with them. And so a law firm is structured like a partnership, right? So you have these partners that are very entrepreneurial. We found the partners in the firm that sort of wanted to go all the way with us. We sort of forward embedded ourselves a bit into their teams. In the beginning, it was a lot about user education. I mean, this was pre a lot of people having worked with ChatGPT. This was a lot of people's first experience with generative AI. The other thing I did was I would bring my computer down to the lunch canteen every day and I would put it in front of a new person. So I'd be very sort of social and go sit with new people all the time, put it in front of them and then see their reactions when they first tested the solution. It was hard for people to distinguish between, is this like Google or is this like generative AI? So people went in and they very much thought about, let me ask it very tough legal questions and see if it knows the answer. And it wasn't very good at that in the beginning.
So you get accepted to YC on the second try. And then what happens like when you get to SF in 2024?
We were in San Francisco and all of our business was in the Nordics. I was working between 1 a.m. and 10 a.m. San Francisco time to take customer calls. And our first sales rep, Tuhin, was doing the same. And we bought these influencer ring lights to put on our laptops so that it wouldn't look like it was in the middle of the night.
Dude, when did you sleep?
It wasn't very sustainable. I managed to do it for about 5 days. And then I tossed in the towel and I said, the only way we succeed is if we serve all these clients well. And if we get from, 0 to 20,000 MRR or a million ARR. I went back. I sort of locked myself in for 5 weeks, just did customer stuff. I was running around Stockholm with my little briefcase, a lot of travel to Finland, to Denmark, to Norway.
So you're actually back in Stockholm during the YC batch. How are you getting leads?
So actually a lot of the leads came from a conference that I was a presenter at, and they had this startup competition, and the startups were supposed to go up and pitch themselves. And the 3 startups that go up before me, they present their company and they go like, hey, this is our company. This is what we do. This is our investors. This is our, fundraising. This is our product. It was really boring. When I went up, I thought, let's not do this. I asked the people in the audience, I was like, how many in here think that there's too much talk and too little action? And everybody went like, yeah. So I'm not going to tell you about our team. And then I had the slide of the team. I'm not going to tell you about our marketing. And then I had the marketing. And I was not going to tell you about our investors. I'm just going to show you.
And this was straight up off the cuff. You didn't plan this.
I hadn't planned it. No. So I went over to the computer. I'm shaking because, I've never done a demo for 200 people before. And our product failed a lot in those early days. So it was kind of a 50-50 if it was going to throw an error. I show a couple of use cases and everything fucking works perfectly. And then my phone starts to vibrate because I get all these demo bookings. So I actually did 150 demos off the back of that presentation.
Wow. So you've got 150 demos booked and you're back in Sweden now. What was the first big deal you actually closed?
Our biggest deal that we signed during YC. I was sitting, it was 3 a.m. I had just showered and I was sitting by our table and I was trying to talk not too loudly because everybody else was sleeping. It was 45K. And I was like, this is amazing. This is the biggest deal ever. And the team went wild and we celebrated. Then they kept coming in. Another 30K deal, another 20K deal, another 40K deal.
So then when the YC batch ends in March 2024, where were you at?
We ended the YC batch with almost $1 million in ARR.
Oh, wow.
With 100% pilot conversion and with 0 lost deals versus competitors.
That's insane. So then you go out and raise a big round, I assume?
This is the interesting part. So after that, we raised from Benchmark. We had the meeting. It was 30 minutes. I walked out the door. They then walked to their office. Peter turns to Chetan and goes, I've always liked the Swedes. Chetan goes, yeah, and we're doing this deal, right? And Peter goes, yeah. And then they did the deal. Almost immediately after, we got a preempted Series A term sheet. We were sort of debating if we should take it or not. What we landed in was there was probably an opportunity to build a really big European company and focus on that. But we wanted to build a global company. And that meant going to the States. And so raising that capital quicker propelled that timeline.
You got to $1 million ARR in just 3 months and just raised $35 million. I assume it's time to press on the gas, hire a bunch of salespeople, and really go for it.
In our first board meeting in May of 2024, I sit down Benchmark and Redpoint, and I tell them that we're not going to sell for the next 6 months because the product was not ready, I thought, to sort of go into general availability.
Usually when you have momentum, you actually want to lean into it. You did the opposite. You just stopped. It's a massive risk. Why'd you do it?
You run into rate limit issues where you, Pablos, toss in 1,000 documents and start a big review. And then suddenly the system breaks for me, who's trying to do something similar. So you need to build a good queue system. And then you need to build a good file processor. And you need to go and build all these things. I felt confident in that if we were onboarding all these very prestigious and nice firms on our product and it didn't work, then we'd burn our shot.
So how did the VCs take that?
Yeah, I don't think they were thrilled, honestly. And they were like, all right, we just gave this 25-year-old like 35 million bucks. And
Yeah, and I mean, especially when you're a first-time founder, it's not easy. So you've got like leads coming in this whole time. What are you telling customers that you're rejecting?
I just said, oh, it's amazing that you guys want to come on Legora. Well, like, we really want to serve you. But I hate to tell you, I mean, there's too much demand. And my team just cannot physically onboard you before October. There's no way. And look, I mean, the reality is a lot of the firms are on vacation. You cannot onboard a new piece of software in Europe between June and end of August.
So finally, October 2024 hits, you turn sales back on. What happens?
We've doubled revenue like every quarter since October, and we still continue to do it.
How big is your company today?
We were 40 people at the beginning of the year, and now we're almost 250.
By the way, when you compete like head to head with competitors today, how often do you win?
It's about 85%.
85% is crazy high. How do you win so often?
We're a very, very engineering-driven company and an engineering-driven culture. We're fully in office. Everybody's shipping like crazy. We iterate really fast, and we're also not afraid to take big bets on what the next set of functionality will be. We wake up and we set the roadmap, and then other companies copy that roadmap.
So you've gone from zero to a $1.8 billion valuation in under 2 years. What's your number one piece of advice for an early stage founder trying to find product market fit?
Don't outsource the sales, and practice good presentation skills and storytelling. You know, I'm an engineer. I had to learn this. It doesn't come super naturally to me, actually. I had to train a lot to get to where I am on that. And I think it's a very underappreciated or undervalued skill that I think founders need to have if they want to succeed.